although the Old Testament's originally substantially in Hebrew,
Yes.
it gets translated 200 years before Christ
Yes.
into Greek, and that's called the Septuagint. 'Cause it's translated by allegedly 70 Jewish scholars in Alexandria,
Yes.
and so it's called the Septuagint because of the word 70, the number of translators. And that was the Bible. That's a version of the Old Testament which is most quoted in the New Testament. So when Jesus quotes from, say, the book of Deuteronomy,
Yes.
as he often does, then the quote in the Bible is from the Septuagint version.
From the Greek.
Yes,
One.
that's right. That's right.
And the Isaiah, Jesus have quoted the book of Isaiah as well.
Book of Isaiah.
Isaiah.
Right. That
So
yeah.
could
All
be-
the quotes
All the quotes.
tend to be from the Septuagint. There may be some that aren't from the
Why
Septuagint,
did all the other ones did they lost?
no, they remained.
They remained.
I mean, I don't know what the oldest version of the Hebrew Old Testament is in existence today. I think there's one called the Leningrad Codex, and there's another one or two. Can't remember the names of them.
Okay, let's speak about the New Testament.
Yeah, but we may as well say, for all intents and purposes, that's all Greek.
Greek.
Yeah.
So is Apostle Paul speak Greek, you mean? And
Probably did, because he said in the Acts of the Apostles, he says he's a Roman citizen.
the Roman
So
citizen.
he obviously is a man who, though he's Jewish, he's cosmopolitan, he knows the world. And in fact, he goes to Athens and he speaks to the Athenians in Athens. So he must have spoken Greek,
So did the Romans spoke Greek or Latin?
Latin.
So how did he speak Greek? And the
I
book
ass-
was Greek.
I assume, you see, Greek was very much the language of the Roman Empire, even though the Romans themselves, their own language is Latin. And the reason why it was like that is because Alexander the Great conquered far and wide, and then his successors carried on as well. So you had a lot of the Mediterranean world heavily influenced by Greek civilization. And so the language becomes the language. Before the Romans
The
rise up.
apostles who wrote the New Testament are many of them, like the four evangelicals, the
Yeah.
four of them,
Yeah.
Apostle Paul, and then we have Peter as well, Peter,
Yeah.
book of Peter 1 and 2.
Yeah,
So do you think Peter as well spoke Greek?
well,
Or maybe he spoke in his language and some people...
exactly, yes. It's possible that they learned some later on, so there's some Greek, but it's quite likely that men like him had somebody who would write for their words for them as they dictated.
Okay, last one. When this interpreted into Latin
Yeah.
in 300 something, there is a Jerome.
Yeah, Jerome in about the late 4th century, so about 380-ish.
Yeah.
In Pope St. Damasus I
Yes.
asked St. Jerome to do the translation to give us a new Latin version.
Yes.
Now, we already had what was called the Old Latin. So there's Latin before Jerome.
Before Jerome.
I don't know how far back that goes.
Yes.
It won't go right back to the
There
Greek.
was another translation as well before Jerome, I think.
Yeah. There's the Old Latin. That's the Old Latin.
That's the Old
But there's also Syriac,
Yeah, maybe Syriac.
Peshitta, as it's called, and there's other old translations before Jerome's.
Yes.
So yeah.
So who was Jerome?
He was basically a priest who went to Rome and worked for the Pope, and then
The
went.
secretary of the Pope, maybe?
I think you could say in some ways
In some ways, yeah.
that's true because
But
he's
was he a priest, a monk?
a priest.
Is he Saint Jerome?
Yes, we call him. He's one of our doctors of the church. That is, he's one of the eminent men and women who we regard as teachers of the universal church, whose teachings contain wisdom and knowledge that crosses the centuries.
Do you have another Jerome before him, who is a martyr?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Not that I'm
So
aware
this
of.
Jerome is the guy who interprets to the new Latin. So he speak Latin? Was he Roman?
He spoke. He was master of Latin, Greek, and Hebrew.
That's why he was able to...
Yeah, that's right. He took the Hebrew. In fact, he went to Jerusalem, to Bethlehem, partly to learn from the rabbis
Yes.
Hebrew, so he could master that language there.
And I heard in the Old Testament, like
Yeah.
the Book of Kings, we
Yeah.
say 1, 2.
Yeah,
There's in the Jewish Bible, it is one book.
yeah.
But
All right.
Jerome said Saint Jerome said because it's too big, I have to divide to 1 and 2.
Okay.
So the Hebrew, they have 22 books,
Yeah.
but in our Old Testament, we have 39 books.
Yeah.
This is because we divide 1, 2, 3, some books.
Yeah.
will be
Yeah.
divided.
For example, we have a book of Ezra and a book of Nehemiah. But for the Jews, that's Ezra and Nehemiah, one book.
One book.
I think it made me call it the book of Esdras by them. But the thing is, yes, 22, you're quite right.
Yes.
And that's because they wanted to make sure, I think they put them together to make sure it came to 22 to match the letters of the Hebrew alphabet.
Yes, that's right.
But of course, if you really divide them, I think in the sensible way, you get
Like the Kings
you get
1 and 2.
39. Yeah, it makes
It should
sense.
be one book. It should be one book.
I would say when you look at it, it makes sense to have them as two. But you know, it's not a big issue to me. I just think they put them together closely just to make sure the number came to 22.
But all these 22, they cover all our 39 books?
I believe they cover all the Protestants' 39 books, yes.
Yeah, but
Yes.
not the Catholic.
Not the Catholics, so we have
We are Orthodox,
46.
we have 81 as well.
Yes, you have more than
More
us,
than-
yeah, that's right.
Do you have
it's true.
Enoch? Enoch?
No, you have one Enoch, don't you?
Enoch 1, yeah.
Yeah, but of course, one Enoch was regarded with very great authority in the early church.
Yes,
So I can understand why
yes,
some groups of Oriental Orthodox have one Enoch
one Enoch.
in the Bible.
Yes.
It's just that we happen to have, come to a different.
Maccabean, but
Yeah, we have.
another, we
You
share-
have 3 Maccabees. I'm not sure if you have 4 Maccabees.
Yes.
I know you have 3.
Yes, 3.
We have just 1 and 2.
Yes.
Now, the interesting thing about 3 Maccabees is, although we don't have it, when our bishops at the Council of Trent 500 years ago were discussing all this,
Yes.
the books of the Bible, they decided not to make a decision about whether 3 Maccabees belongs in the Bible or not. They just decided not to decide. So that means one day at another council
Yeah,
or a
might
future
bring-
pope could say, oh, we should consider 3 Maccabees as inspired word of God
Yes.
and put it into
This 70,
the Bible. So it'd be 74 then, wouldn't it?
74, yeah.
That's
Yeah, now it's 72 or
3.
73.
46 Old Testaments
Yes.
and 27 New Testaments.
So maybe new Pope can add to some of these books.
It's possible. I mean, because when we pass something over in silence and we don't say no, that means, of course, it's possible we could bring it in one day.